I hope today, over the next few moments, the words that I say, you understand that are not, I want Jesus to speak to you today. I hope that he says something to you, taps you on the shoulder, you feel a twist in the stomach going, that's for me, and you walk out of here going and doing something new in your life. We often ask people to ask this question, ask, what is Jesus saying to you, and what are you going to do about it? Because this ultimately, everything today is a setup for a conversation between you and Jesus. But he brought you here today to speak to you. And if you're going, oh, I just didn't get much out of it, then ask Jesus to speak to you. Ask him to say something, because today he brought you here for a purpose. So you're here. Let's get something out of it. Today, for the first time ever, I put together notes. You might need magnifying glass to get it to fit, but maybe you're not a note taker. I did put doodles down here so you can feel free to doodle. Just don't make any cartoons of me, because it would hurt my, no, you can do that. Go for it. But here's the hopes, is that you take this home, take it to your workplace, and it inspires you every day to continue your journey with Jesus, being a follower of Jesus. That's the hopes. You can write all over it. This is for you to take. I'm going to explain it. This came out of one of our staff meetings. We meet as a staff, those that are over different areas of ministry of the church. We meet on Wednesdays over lunchtime because all of us we're all part-time, and so we do lunch at my house, and we talk about really how to help serve you better. And in that, we're just talking about what is it like to be a follower of Jesus? What does that mean? And so just conversation happened. I wrote this up, and then I'm going to try to explain it to all of us today. And you're looking at them, that's a lot. It might take a while, so strap in. But the whole idea at the end of this is that it's like an aha moment for you, that you go, I got to do that. What is a follower of Jesus? What is some of those defining things that says, I am following Jesus? Because you can just put the label on you, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, James, the author James, Jesus' half-brother, writes in the book he authors in the Bible, he says, someone that hears what Jesus has to say and walks away and doesn't apply them is like someone that looks in a mirror and forgets what they look like. Like you're going, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Well, that's what James is trying to say. Someone that hears clearly what Jesus has to say on topics and then walk away and doesn't apply them, it's crazy talk. It's craziness. Why would you do that? And so my hopes is today that Jesus says something to you that would make you go, I got to apply that, because not first, it's just part of being a follower of Jesus, is you apply what Jesus has to say. You take his input and go, I'm going to listen to that because he wants something for you. And so in your lifetime, you could be totally put off by the church. And I understand the history of the church isn't always so pretty. Sometimes it's just downright embarrassing. Some of you're like, no, I know who Jesus is. Whatever he says I'm going to do. I would sell everything and move to a different place. And I'm just for Jesus. And there's levels here, and no one needs to be at somebody else's level. You need to be right where Jesus is asking you to be. This isn't you trying to become me or me wanting you to become me, because there's already one of me. Ask Holly, my wife. There's no need for two of me running around, okay? Just a lot of not good things would happen, I'm sure. So there's one of you. Be you. Be the person that God has created you to be by listening to what Jesus has to say. At the end of the day, I'm not calling you an idiot, but don't be an idiot. Don't hear what Jesus has to say and do nothing about it. It's like crazy talk. Don't be crazy, okay? And so a follower of Jesus, we're going to try to put it up on the screens. You'll see me look at this. We're going to put the diagram up there, and we'll follow along, and you're not going to be able to read all the verses up there, but Jesus said, follow me. Jesus comes in on the scene. He's about 30 years old, and he starts bumping into people where he did life, and at 30 years old, he starts inviting people to follow him. Like just having a conversation with some guys, and all of a sudden, hey, why don't you follow me? We read that, a lot of times, it's funny how we just read the Bible and we don't think anything of it. Like, come on, that'd be weird, right? Like if you just had somebody at Starbucks today just go, hey, follow me, and you don't know them. We're like, that's just weird. No, I'm not going to follow you. Okay, that's creepy. I don't know what you want to do with me. No, I'm not following you. But we read things like this in the Bible where Jesus says, follow me, and these people dropped what they were doing and followed Jesus. We're like, yeah, that's normal. We would just pause for a second and go, yeah, that's not normal. But always cancels out what was said before. I understand that. I'm going to cancel out what I said before. In this culture, follow me was what young teenage men were after. See, in a Jewish culture where the stories of the Bible take place, the Jewish culture, young men were wanting to be asked by a rabbi, follow me. A rabbi would come and say, follow me, I will teach you the ways. And to be able to become a rabbi was like your social status went up a level, because that meant you were a bit smarter than other people. You had a little bit more wealth. You were set apart by who or the things you possessed. And so you wanted, follow me. Well, when Jesus comes along, I think it's Matthew chapter 9, verse 9, and he says to Matthew, who was a tax collector. Tax collectors are pretty messy people. Jesus comes to Matthew in the middle of his mess. He didn't say, get cleaned up, Matthew, sort out your junk, and then come back to me and follow me. He said in the middle of his mess, right in the middle of it, he says, Matthew, follow me. Just follow me, and we'll sort it out as conversations go. I hope that's freeing for a lot of you. That in your mess, Jesus is not saying, go get cleaned up and then come back. Go get cleaned up and then invite somebody to Easter. Go get cleaned up and then we'll talk about it. No, Jesus is like, no, follow me in your mess. I'll help unmess you. That's why we want to hear what Jesus has to say, apply it, because it cleans up our mess. When we are left to cleaning up our mess, we make a bigger mess. Have you ever spilled paint before? Okay. I can remember vividly, like I was painting some car that I made as a kid, and my dad liked his garage kept really at least clean, than I would leave it. And I remember painting this car. I was trying to do black and red on it. It was gonna be really cool, and I'm just going to town on it. And I kick over a paint. I was like, oh no, I gotta clean this up. And so I just go get towels and I start rubbing it around, trying to clean it up. Right? And then all of a sudden, this little mess that was this is now everywhere. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so then I get 5-gallon buckets of water and I'm just like dumping it on there. And now the garage floor is red, okay? The two things I needed, either make up a good story of how I bled on the floor so my dad would be like, oh, I'm glad you're okay, or how it was my sister's fault. So that was the two options I had, or death was the next thing happening in my life. And I just looked at it. I was like, I'm trying to clean up this mess. I go and tell my mom. My mom was always the buffer. She's such a good woman. Because I go to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I got to show you what I did. And in her face is like, oh man, you're going to die. Thanks for the encouragement, Mom. And she's like, when you spill paint, there's a way to pick it up where it doesn't make a bigger mess. I was like, show me the way. I'm just a Padawan, okay? You're the Jedi Knight. Teach me, Mom, how to do this. And so we're out there cleaning up the garage as best we can so that when my dad comes home, it didn't look like I just spilt the paint everywhere. I've learned at a young age, when I go to clean up my own messes, I tend to make a bigger mess. And that's a lot of times in our lives. If we would just own the mess that we're in and say, okay, Jesus, I'm in this mess because I got here. How do I get out of this mess? And do sometimes what seems difficult, we would take those steps and go, I'm going to do that. That's humbling to say I'm sorry. It's humbling to apologize. It's humbling to have to spend more money to clean up. Okay, Jesus, that's what you're asking me to do. I'm going to do that. He wants to step in your mess and help you clean up your mess. He doesn't say, go clean up your mess and come to me and then follow me. That should be really freeing for every one of us, because I am a messy, messy person. I mean, I try to wear clean clothes on Sundays, and I try to make myself look like I'm not, but I'm messy. I mean, I just am. I think thoughts that I shouldn't. I say things. I text things I shouldn't sometimes. I have to apologize. I want to be angry at people at times, and I'm just like, ugh. And then Jesus is like, yeah, that's the point. You can't do this on your own. You're messy. Let me help clean up your mess. So let Jesus clean up your mess. And so he comes and says, follow me. And when you decide, after you gain all the facts, that Jesus is who he said he is, that he died on a cross and rose again, that he's God's one and only son, when you do that, you do the research for yourself, and you do it right, objectively, you're going to find out there's more information that proves Jesus is who he said he is than not. However, we have people that go with the less facts and just say, no, that's just not real. And we just objectively look at it. If you do your research, there's enough research out there that would point to that Jesus is who he said he is. I was asked a week ago or so, somebody asked why the way I teach when I talk about the author, James says, instead of the Bible said, or the way I teach, I try to come from the idea that, man, when I was a youth pastor, I was for 17 years a youth pastor, there was a shift. Somewhere around 2004 or so, the internet was a real thing at that point, and all of a sudden, students that we were doing life with, they started coming in and asking questions about, well, there's people out there that say there is no God, that he's not real, that Jesus is, it's just all made up, that somebody stole Jesus' body. I'm like, where are you hearing this information? Like, well, we just searched it on the internet. We live in a culture that all of a sudden that people can type in, is Jesus real, and get a slew of answers. Now, some are made up, some are, it's just not factual. And all of a sudden it takes the thought of a person and shifts it off of the power of the internet. So then when it came to teaching, it was like, okay, we've got to teach in a way that gives facts and proof and reminds people that we serve a God that is alive and not dead and not made up. And that it's not a Bible says so that we are following Jesus because Jesus died on a cross and rose so. That's the game changer. And there's proof for all of those things. And so we began as a team in student ministry going, how do we teach this in a way that when someone goes to college, some teacher doesn't come up and say, well, no, you can't use the Bible as a book of reference because you can't write a bibliography for it. But if you go and quote author Matthew says, you can. You can use the same thing, but if you say you got it from the Bible, they go, well, there's no one author of the Bible. It doesn't work. You start quoting authors like James says, Matthew says, all of a sudden the professor's like, oh, yeah, you can. It does follow the guidelines. And you're giving tools to people to not have an argument. Love does not require us to argue about Jesus. When anyone wants to question your faith, ask them. Turn their question back around. You don't need to prove to them that you believe what you believe. You know what you believe. Ask them, why do you not think Jesus is the Son of God? Why do you think Jesus did not die and rise again? Because when you find out why they think what they think, you can answer their question. Oftentimes it's through hurt and filters that has been past experiences, and you can speak in and go, you know what? Here's why bad things happen to good people. Here's what Jesus has to say, and all of a sudden it brings life. And so Jesus steps into our messes. Jesus comes and says, listen, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I'm the way, the truth. I'm constant. And so then it's a question of, do you believe the facts? Being a follower of Jesus starts with believing. That's the first tip of the triangle. You got to believe. This isn't have faith. We talked about that a couple weeks ago in the series. It's believe. I think we got one of those slides that says that believe is the top of the pyramid. You got to believe. And then you go down, okay, and again, if you need the verse to help you with that, it's right over to the next side of it, which that's where you need probably a magnifying glass or better lighting. But I'll read it to you. It's John 20. We read this a couple weeks ago, so this is a reminder to a few of you. Jesus performed many signs in the presence of his disciples. John, who's the author of this, is one of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. So John's saying, I just handpicked some of the things that Jesus did, and I've put them in the story I wrote. And here's the deal. You got to understand that John's super, super old here. Like he's going, okay, I have verbally shared my stories with a lot of people, but how about the generations to come? How am I going to give them the information? I better write this down. And probably, truth be told, he probably dictated it to someone that had better eyesight and better writing and wrote it down for him and just let the person write go, listen, these are just a handful of stories that I have researched. I was there. I got more eyewitness accounts on them. I put them in here. And he sums up, this is how he wraps up his whole book. He goes, this is why I did this. These are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. That's the whole reason he wrote it, is that you would believe that Jesus is who he said he is. So if you're on some fence about all this, please keep coming back here. We'll keep trying to point you to, we will point you to Jesus. We'll give you the facts. You go read John. What author John has to say about Jesus, read it objectively and make your decision. And so the first step is believing. Then, okay, now what? Here's it. As soon as you say, I'm going to become a follower of Jesus, Jesus asked me, going to follow Jesus, I'm going to go. Immediately, it's go. It's not sit here and twiddle my things. What I need to do, I got to go to class. I got to learn this. And then, no. You go. Going. The believe part is on the inside of the triangle, the inside, the thing that people can't see. The go part now is I got to point other people to Jesus. Jesus changed my life. I got a lot of freedom. I'm excited about what Jesus is doing. This passion that you see up here, this energy, it is non-Red Bull. It is just genuine passion about what Jesus has done in my life, and I want him to do in other people's lives. We started the church not to have a big church, but to reach people and point them to Jesus. We're doing all these camps. My goodness, I'm a busy guy already. I don't need to add camps to make my life busier. We're doing it because we want to reach people. It's worth it. It's worth it to watch kids find Jesus at a young age, and maybe, just perhaps, they'll go home and they'll tell their parents something, and their parents will find Jesus. Maybe, perhaps, just maybe, their parents will walk into a local church and find Jesus. Maybe they'll show up here and find Jesus. It's all of that. It's the passion that I know that being a follower of Jesus has changed my life so much. And it's not put money in my pocket and giving me new cars and a big house. That's Western culture Jesus stuff. Jesus has given me life, a life that like I couldn't even imagine. It's a life of, man, when tragedy strikes, I have some kind of hope still. That when I'm at the top of the mountain, I'm still humbled knowing I got to the top of the mountain because Jesus showed up and showed off in my life. It's a passion that you see every Sunday because I'm excited about genuinely what Jesus is doing in my life, in your life, and in the Twin Cities. I'm amped. I'm fired up, however you want to say it. Let's get after it. Let's go to a whole nother level. Let's not stop, right? Let's do another week of camp. If people are going to come and do it. I mean, we've shared some of these stories on I don't know where I've shared them. Sometimes here, if it's a repeat, just be excited again because I'm still excited about it, right? We just have had churches that have seen what we've done on YouTube going, I want to bring a group to what you're doing at Unlock Church because we want them to experience what you're doing. This is kind of new stuff. We know you're little, but so we'll come. Will you use us? We're like, yeah, we'll do another week of camp. Okay. Well, what's that cost? And we're like, well, it's like, it's a lot of thousands of dollars, okay? Like, just to put it in perspective, the stinking tent is $5,000. To have that big canopy tent because they got forklifts moving around, it's a circus thing. Anyways, $5,000. They're like, okay, we'll help pay for camp. And Jesus shows up. You're like, yeah, we'll do the work. You keep bringing the people. You give it. We're going to do this thing. We're going to reach the people. Imagine a baby church bringing in over 1,000 people. We just had another church from North Carolina this Thursday. Thursday, Wednesday. One of the days this week, we had a meeting with them downtown. It was Wednesday. We had a meeting downtown. I just was computing. We shot a video downtown. You should really go watch it. It's all about saying yes for the next 24 hours. Literally, watch the video on our YouTube channel and then apply. It's really fun. We rode one wheels around downtown. We turned on a lot of heads because it's just really fun. Really beautiful city we live in. And then we showed up to this meeting with these pastors, and Lily and I are coming in. We're riding on one wheels. They're like, yep. This is the first church I've ever had a meeting show up on one wheels. And they're like, can we ride? This thing's awesome. And then they wrote back, literally, their first comment when they got back to North Carolina was, how do we get a one wheel? I was like, okay. Because they had already, here's the deal. That's the appropriate response because they already said while they were here, we're coming for camp. We'll come another week. We'll bring some of our young adults to come do this. Will you teach us how to do this back home? We want to really help do this. We'll send some resources to do it. And I'm just sitting there going, what? Like literally my jaw is dropping every time. I'm like, huh? Like the genie style jaw dropping in Aladdin, poof, to the floor. Did you know they're bringing out a new Aladdin? The genie is Will Smith. So you find out a lot of stuff here at Unlock Church, a lot about Jesus, pop culture, one wheel, you get coffee. Who doesn't want to come here? Hello? Okay. Some people are like, that dude talks too fast, that's why. Okay, but here's the deal is that we have all these people joining in what Jesus is doing in here. And we're just simply doing that part. We're going into the community. We're going to go to them. Now, if you would like to pray with us on one said topic, we have a crazy idea. All our ideas, I think, are crazy. But so we're trying to do 3.5 weeks of camp. That's 3 big tents. We're like, okay, what happens if we rent Toys R Us? The building that's here in Maple Grove that's empty, like it's empty. What happens if we rented that for a month? and just held camp there. It's always set up. We don't have to tear it down. Weather doesn't matter. What happens? So we reached out to the city this week. They were like, we don't know what to do with that question. Because you're like, no one's wanted to do that before. We gotta talk. We gotta talk to some people. Like, your nonprofit, profit, blah. And they're really wrestling with it. They're like, this is a great question. I'm like, your building is sitting empty. If you say no to us, it's going to sit empty. If you say yes to us, we'll clean it up first. We'll do camp in there, and then we'll clean it back up. They're like, you propose a great offer. And they're wrestling with this. Like, it's like you wrestle, but we need just people praying that they'll just come back and go, well, no, we don't know what we're saying yes to, but yeah, great idea. Just imagine, welcome to Unlock Church or Unlock Summer Camp on a building for a month in the city. People going to Chipotle, going to Cold Stone. I know no one goes to Cold Stone in here, but if you do, you look over there and just say, imagine that for a summer. And you have 1,000 different people from the United States coming in to do that. We have all of our volunteers coming in there. Just come on. We're believing it, so we're going. As a follower of Jesus, you are going back to work where your family is. You're on mission now. It's not just camps. You are strategically placed where you are. You are strategically placed. You're not there by mistake. So if you're strategically placed there by God, maybe you're there to learn something or be on mission. And we're always on mission. We're to go. Jesus says this before he disappears in the way the authors write it, that he goes up into the sky and disappears, okay? I was not there for it. It's like, wow, that's pretty wild. That's crazy talk. Like, okay, disappears in the cloud. He disappears. But he says these are his last words on earth. He says, go into the world and teach them. Point them to me. You can read it right there. It's in Matthew chapter 28. It's on your page. He says, go. You know when he's saying go? Like, I got Joey here, and I'm like, Joey, when you go to the store today, pick me up some Red Bull. He's already going. He's saying, I'm going to the store, Scott. Can I get you anything? Yeah, while you're going there, get Red Bull. You're already going to work tomorrow. You're already going to be around family members. You're going to work out with some people this week. You're going. And on your way, point them to Jesus. It isn't a go to Africa, but if he calls you to Africa, go. It's just do your life and point people to Jesus. When was the last time at work, where you work out, how you commute, did you point somebody to Jesus? And it doesn't always have to be necessarily words. It could be you just simply, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you go, he's got the going part's the outward part. Go back to the inside. Okay, so as I'm going, I'm pointing people to Jesus. The inside is I begin to surrender things. I start giving things up. The old me kind of goes, ooh, that way I thought about that group of people, that's not Jesus talk. That's not healthy. I'm going to get that. I'm going to surrender that. Ooh, Jesus talks about anger. Ooh, that's really tough because I'm an angry person. Yep, I got to get that out of there. Jealousy. What? I can't be jealous about my family members anymore? That's not cool. Okay, Jesus said, get it out. I start surrendering my things. I start surrendering. In author Paul, he writes in Romans to a church plant that he started in the Roman Empire. Romans chapter 12, he says this. So here's what I want you to do. These are not my words. These are Paul's trying to inspire, encourage with a lot of passion. He says, here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. I love that, just that illustration there. Your ordinary life. Your mundane things you do. Are you saying, God, I put it at your feet. What do you want me to do with them? So when people come around and they want to, Joey a couple weeks ago, he said, Scott, it's spring break, I want to job shadow you. I'm like, all right, you know what you're asking for? I mean, like, it's crazy stuff, okay? Phone call can happen and change the plan for the day, okay? We could see something, and it's like, I'm like super ADD. I'm like, let's do it. Let's jump, okay? Let's go. Well, we don't have the right clothes to jump. That's all right. We'll dry. It's okay. We'll show up to the meeting wet. It's all right. No one will care. We'll just have a great story when we get there. It's like, all right, do you know what you're doing? Yes. It's taking the ordinary, everyday things that we do and saying, God, what are you up to? What are you doing? And saying, God, whatever you want me to do, I will do. It kind of leans into the part of see a need, meet a need that we talk around here. The DNA of this church is to, man, imagine us being pulled back in a slingshot, let go, and as we're going to places, we're pointing people to Jesus, and we're looking for needs to meet, and we stop and meet those needs. Why are you late to work? Because I helped somebody with a flat tire. Or if you do that again, you're fired. Maybe that's a place you shouldn't work if they don't value helping other people. Because my goodness, the greatest thing of value in this world is life, is people. I mean, seriously. I mean, I know we like stuff, and I like stuff, and I got a lot of things I like, but at the end of the day, I can't take a one wheel with me. And I wouldn't ask to do, if I'm dying in a hospital bed, I'm not like, hey, bring my one wheel to the office or to the hospital so I can just snuggle it a little bit. No, I'm going to go, can you bring my wife in here? I'd like to snuggle her one last time. I'd like to look at my kids one last time. Why? Because I value people. People is the highest thing in life. So why wouldn't we stop and take time and not allow tasks to trump people? And I'm guilty of that sometimes. I can get so laser focused on something that I just don't stop and look at people in eye to eye or just stop and say, how can I help you? I got a task to do. I got to get it done. If I don't, and it's like, hold on. You just let a task trump people. That's backwards. I love to use tasks to do life with people. It's so much more fun to set up on Sunday mornings. It's 6:30, 7 o'clock here with a team of people. That's so much more fun than by myself. And the task is just to do life with each other. If we didn't set up on Sundays, we'd be doing coffee a bunch during the week, but we utilize the setup and tear down time to check in with each other and talk and have a good time. Like, we're laughing around here most Sundays. Even on the Sundays where everything breaks, we're moving at a fast pace, but we're laughing still. Somebody's pulling a joke. Somebody's having a good time because the task never trumps the people. Tasks sometimes are used to get people around. I get that. And so we're going to surrender our ordinary everyday life. That's being a follower of Jesus. The next thing is you round that corner in the triangle. So I believe, now I'm doing the outward thing. The inward thing is surrendering things. And then on the outward is I'm embracing things now. I'm embracing different people. Maybe that's in physically hugging people that you never hugged before. You know what I love to watch? And you see this a lot with men that become followers of Jesus, and they're pretty hard guys, like you just use them as a bouncer in some kind of nightclub or something, like that person, like don't mess with them. And all of a sudden, they come in one Sunday after they find Jesus, become a follower of Jesus, and they come in, and you're used to giving them a handshake. They're not like, no, come on, I need a big hug. And they come and give you a big hug. You're like, yep, I didn't see that one coming. You're just like, it's like one of those moments. But then all of a sudden, it's like Jesus got a hold of them, and they're embracing things all of a sudden. They're embracing love and seeing a need and meeting. And you're like, whoa, look at Jesus working in somebody's life. And Paul writes about this embracing after he was just said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Take your ordinary life and boom, surrender it. Now he says in verse 2 of chapter 12 in Romans, embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Okay, Jesus, bring it on. Bring on the change. I got this. You want me to open my house for people? Whew. That just makes me stressed out. But Jesus, that's what you want me to do. Okay, I'm going to do. I'm going to embrace it. You want me to talk to strangers, invite them to church? Ooh, I feel weird about that. Oh my gosh, what are they going to think? But I'm embracing it. Ooh, you want me to volunteer? Oh man, you want me to give that away? But I like it. You're just embracing. Okay, Jesus. Okay. And so he says, embracing what God does for you is the best thing you do. And then he just says this, a bit of a warning. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit in without even thinking. Like, we should look a little bit different as a follower of Jesus. Not because we wear all the same clothes. It's not like all of a sudden I'm going to say, okay, you got to wear red Vans, shoes, khaki pants, and a black shirt. No, that's weird, okay? That's crazy talk, okay? So he says that you just exit, okay? We're talking about set apart because we love everybody. That we ask questions like, what does love require me to do right now? Not, do I have time for this right now? No, what does love require me to do? Okay, so I'm not going to fit in. And it says, instead, fix your attention on God. You'll change from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to the level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. If you're on the fence about Jesus right there, he brings the best out in you. Why wouldn't you want that? Hello. And it's free. It costs you nothing. This is not like some commercial. I'm just telling you what, come on. Be excited. So we believe, we're going, we're surrendering, we're embracing both what God has got for us and those that are outside these four walls. That's the point of our camps and Unlock the Party. We're embracing the community. We love the community. We don't shake our finger at the community because that's not what love requires us to do. We just say, hey, you're messy. We can help you clean up your mess. We know who Jesus is. Let us help you. And so then you're running into the other corner of the triangle, and man, you already know this one. It's loving. That's an inward thing. This isn't fake it till you make it. That saying just rubs me so wrong. Just fake it till you make it. No, be authentic. Be real. Be genuine. If you hang around me long enough, the energy you see up here is the same energy I got with life. Okay, I'm out riding my one wheel. I'm like, woo, riding this thing. We had a group of us meet at my house. Like, seriously, if you don't have an electric device, you need to get one. A lot of fun, okay? And meet at my house before small groups, and we'll ride, okay? We had about 4 of us riding from my house on one wheels and boosted boards, and we're riding, and I'm just riding with a lot of passion because it's a lot of fun. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, like, ride on the grass. All of a sudden, I go out into the grass, and I'm going to, like, carve around this tree. But the tree moved. Honestly, it did. It wasn't me. It was the tree. And then I go, and I'm like, whoa, that's a pine tree. And I don't fall and almost bail. One of my wise friends just like, hey, how about we just ride there and get the small group in one piece, and then we can play around afterwards. And I got it. It's like, yeah, I don't want a muddy butt. That'd be really humbling. Like, why do you have mud on your butt? I fell off my one wheel. A tree moved in front of me. But I just am out there riding like, whoa, yeah, let's have a good time. Thinking nothing about, man, if you fall, you could break something. I'm always like, man, if I fall and break something, I got a great story. How'd you break something? I was out there living life. It's so much more fun to live life than it is to be too cautious about it. Now, there's some wisdom in there, and I'll let you filter that. But so we run into this loving thing. You run into Luke. Dr. Luke says in the book he writes, chapter 10, he says this. He records a story happening with this guy in the city that's trying to pin Jesus, like making Jesus like messed up so they could kill him, okay? That was the intention. And so Jesus is like, what do you think the greatest commandment is? And the guy says, love God with all of you, love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and muscle and intelligence. And that you love your neighbor as well as yourself. A little bit different translation. This is the Message version. Love God with everything you got. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's what we're supposed to. As a follower of Jesus, we love everybody. Not like hippie kind of love where it's just like, yeah, flowers and stuff. Like, that's cool. But like love with action. That we see needs and meet needs. That's what a follower of Jesus does. Even when it's hard, we love. Our spouse, when we want to poke them in the eye, what does love require me to do? Not poke them in the eye. Okay, I got it. Don't poke them in the eye. Oh, they want to go eat there and I don't. Love requires me to just say, okay, where do you want to go? Man, if we just got that tattooed to our brains, just always, what does love require me to do? Serve them. Let them decide. Take them where they want to get. Buy the movie they want to buy. It just changes everybody's life. Now, humanness gets in the way and goes, but I don't want to do that. And we let it happen, and I let it happen often. But, man, if we would just be loving to everybody, woo, game changer. So we round that corner from loving, which is that inward piece. The outward piece is now seeing. Seeing needs and meeting needs. Looking for opportunity to step in. And it doesn't just need to be the flat tire or somebody needs money. It could be you just notice someone looks like they're having a rough moment. And you just step in and go, you know what? Let's talk it out. Let's have coffee. Let me help you. Let me just hear your story. Sometimes the need is just simply people want to be heard. And to stop and hear him. Whew, what a game changer. And the goal, if you want to know, okay, where's Unlocked Church headed and what would be the ultimate, man, right out of Acts chapter 2. This is like the early church stuff. This is what the church, right after Jesus goes to this is what the early church was known for. Could you imagine if this is what people said of Unlocked Church? Like if we could create a place that had this definition. In Acts chapter 2, verse 42. And this isn't a church thing. When I talk about church, let me make sure I give you the context I don't see it as a building. I see it as a group of people. Church is a group of people on a mission. It's not a building. It's not buying big buildings. It's a group of people on mission. So when I talk about church, when I say us, it's us on a mission together. May this be said of us, that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teachings and to fellowship. Fellowship is like the Christianese term for hanging out. If somebody says, hey, you want to go fellowship? Just kind of have another conversation with them. What does that mean? Because it's only happened once in my life, and it was weird. I was like, what? Like, you want to hang out? I know what that is, but anyways. Fellowship, meaning hanging out, doing life together, to breaking of the bread into prayer. That's the goal of this group. Why do we start? Well, it seems like 10 minutes late, but we give 10 minutes to hang out because we want to do life with people, because that's what the early church did. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, which is the teachings that talk about Jesus. It goes on, everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles, the early church. They were blown away with what they were doing. May people be blown away with what we are doing on a mission of serving the community. Blown away with what's going to happen this summer because we're pointing them to Jesus, not because it's something about us. It goes on and says, all the believers were together and had everything in common. And they were running after the same thing all the time. Verse 45, this is one of those things I'm like, whoa, this is crazy talk. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. When they saw a need that they didn't have, they're like, okay, I could sell that land. I'm going to put it aside so I can see needs and meet needs with that money. Hello. What? That's crazy talk. That's like me selling one of my cars and going, okay, here's the deal. But that's what they were doing. The fun bit for me is I'm watching that happen inside our church now. People are selling things and giving things away. They're like, I have 2 of these. I don't need 2. And so I'll give it away. We're doing this. This is happening here at Unlocked Church. Every day they continued to meet together. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their numbers daily those who were being saved, meaning people were finding Jesus. May that be said of Unlocked Church. They come to an event, they come here, they hang out with you at your house, at work, and people are finding Jesus because we are doing what this triangle is talking about, being a follower of Jesus, that we're believing that Jesus is who he said he is. It gets us really excited and amped, so we're on mission, we're going. We're getting sent out at a slingshot into work to be a light in the darkness. So on go, we continue to surrender our life. Going, when Jesus says, get that out, okay, I'll do that. So we begin to surrender those things in our lives. And then after surrender, we embrace what God has for us. We are embracing people and God's truths for our life. Then we're loving people. What does love require us to do? The next piece is see a need, meet a need. Why? Because that's what Jesus did, and we should do what Jesus did. And then the last thing is back to believe. Believe what you're reading. John 10:10 says, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come to give you life and life abundantly. If you believe that, you'll keep doing the triangle, and it never stops. Just turn the other corner and keep going down, because it's a journey. It's a process. It's so awesome see how many laps you can do in a lifetime in this triangle. May you take this, put it somewhere, maybe a reminder where you're at. Okay, today I got to surrender. Today I got to love. Right now I got to go, and not go to the bathroom, but I got to go on mission. I got to get after it. But let us may this be what Unlocked Church is known for. May you be known for this. And in the end, when it's all said and done and we're all sitting in some retirement home on some rocking chairs going, oh, remember what we were a part of, what Jesus did? May we at that moment pray that the generation behind us experiences what we are experiencing today. Because Jesus is showing up and showing off in a big, big way. And it's exciting to be a part of it. Let me pray. Jesus, I ask that you would speak very clearly to us what our next step is. May we be excited about the future in our own personal lives and what you're doing with this group of people on mission for the Twin Cities. For these camps, we ask that you would prepare the hearts of Maple Grove, that it would be just like somebody just zoomed in on Maple Grove, and it was the hot spot where Jesus was doing something pretty profound. May you touch the lives of the volunteers and those that are going to be first-time guests. We ask for the resources to continue to reach people in these camps and the volunteers to do it. May you give soft hearts to the owners of Toys R Us or a building that we might be able to use, or the tent companies. Whoever's involved, you know the story that's going to be wrote. We ask that you go ahead of us and prepare the hearts of even the restaurants we're going to approach for the dinners. And those that are sitting in here going, that's great, camp's awesome, I love it, I want you to win, but they're needing you to show up in their life right now. May you do something in their lives in a conversation in the next 10 minutes that they would know that you're real and that you haven't forgotten about them and that you love them. And what seems like a really, really, really dark and scary moment, you're saying, I still have you. And may that be the thing that keeps us going and surrendering and embracing and loving and seeing needs and meeting needs. We believe everything you got for us, Jesus, in your name. Amen.